It is Monday, November 18th, 2024, 7:30 p.m., and I call this meeting of the Needham Design Review Board to order. I'm the board chair, Mark Lusing. I'd like to confirm that members and guests applicants are present and can be heard. Please respond when I call your name. Steve Dornbush.
Here.
Susan Opkin.
Here.
Millie Prodden.
Here.
There you are. Felix Semmel.
Go in with her, Eli.
Here.
Also attending our town staff person, Lisa Lichman. And applicants, please let us know you're here. 980 Great Plain Avenue, CVS. Anyone here for them?
Here.
Who is that? I'm sorry, could you tell me your name?
Ben Bodlagar with State Permits. Also presenting will be Paul Landa from State Permits.
Okay,
Here.
thanks. And 3652 Brook Road, facade changes, Cherniker Property Services. I thought I saw him. There he is.
Fred
Okay.
Cherniker and Karen Cherniker.
All right, thank you. Welcome to this open meeting of the Needham Design Review Board, which is being conducted remotely consistent with state orders. The orders allow public bodies to meet entirely remotely so long as reasonable access is afforded the public so that the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. For this meeting, the Needham Design Review Board is convening by Zoom app as posted on the town's website and the Design Review Board page, identifying how the public may join. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. We do have a special permit application tonight, which will allow public input. All supporting materials that have been provided to members of this board are available on the town's website. Public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda unless the chair notes otherwise. This meeting is being broadcast to the town's YouTube channel and also via Zoom and is being recorded for publication, later viewing, and administrative purposes. Please be aware that other people can see you and take care not to screen share your computer unless the chair approves. Please remember to mute your phone or computer when you are not speaking. I would like to review the remote meeting procedures for tonight's meeting. I will introduce each applicant on the agenda after they conclude their remarks. I will take comments or questions from Design Review Board members. After discussion, each vote will be by roll call vote. The building department now requires electronic submission of building permit applications. Copy of your application stamped and noted for the type of approval that you receive will be emailed to you by the DRB support staff. That can then be attached to your building permit application. So we will start with the first item on the agenda. Public notice is hereby given that CVS, located at 980 Great Plain Avenue, has made an application for the Design Review Board for a special permit pursuant to the sign bylaw, section 5.3.4. This proposal is for 3 art style window signs at 100 square feet, 31 square feet, and 65 square feet, in addition to the existing CVS wall signage. So why don't I turn it over to you?
Thank you, Mark. This is Paul Landa with State Permits, and thank you all for being here. We appreciate the time, and I'm going to try to keep it as brief as I can. Mark, you introduced exactly what we're requesting your team's consideration for. Essentially, the north facade on that building that's across from the public town square. It appears to me, at least from Google Maps, or at least a nice gathering area you guys have developed. We took into some consideration the dynamics of your zoning bylaws as we presented this proposal to your team, and we believe that by the graphics that we are proposing, we're sticking with the integrity of the district, those being the historical graphics, and want to be a part of the values that are shared as a member of this zoning classification and area. We think it's probably a positive enhancement overall, and we're hoping that you share that perspective in the long run. Some people might even look at this as a piece of artwork or a mural that enhances even that public square and people passing by. Just to give you a little history on this, CVS is improving sites nationwide. Traditionally, what they would be requesting in a situation like this would be a heart type logo of red and white. And we recognize from your bylaws that that was not an ideal situation for the community or for CVS. And so we've come back with what we thought were some impressive art pieces from the Boston area that we hope you consider the same way, and want to present that in lieu of the shades and or curtains that as you drive through that historic district, you see at numerous locations. As you may or may not be aware of from your shopping in these stores, that wall that we're requesting the larger section of graphics is already full of shelving and merchandise. So we're not blocking any type of view of the people for public safety type reasons. And then you'll notice the area where there was other shading that we're requesting the smaller section of graphics. That's the customer service area, which does allow for the visibility that's needed for the core competencies of your overall public safety matters that this hearing isn't necessarily concerned with, but we look at all those aspects. So as one looks at the spirit of code, it's probably a core belief by all of us here that sign code was meant for advertising and marketing. In this case, we are going above and beyond the allowed square footage and requesting that, but we're trading out essentially curtains or shades, as you see up and down that area, and not doing any advertising of any nature or marketing with the proposed historical graphic mural. So I think that's an important consideration that I wanted to bring up. I think another thing you guys are thinking of is, okay, what if everybody wants to go in here with graphics and get rid of their shades now? A valid concern, and something to hang your hat on, as graphics have changed, just like curtains changed, just like shades changed, just like window advertising changed. I don't know a good argument to give you guys or to help you with that discretionary and subjective opinion, but it was worth mentioning, and maybe a concern of this committee, and we're happy to discuss that.
Well, we'll wait and see if it comes up. So
yep. I try to put your hats on as I do these. Yeah. So then we've got this being the main intersection of your downtown district. We don't think that there's anything distasteful about that. This is the hub of that historic district, with the park there, with the main cross streets. Everybody's driving by it. There's nothing bright or anything that I think is alarming or is negative based on what your committee's discretion is concerned with. The only other piece is there is some sense of permanency with these graphics, and so it's a big decision on your team's part, and we respect that, and we'd like to come to some conclusion as quickly as we can, in case we can still get this done while the weather is good enough to install such. So okay. I think that that's enough points. You guys have all seen. I'm not going to share the screen. I wouldn't even know how. I'm old school. I'm old. So if I don't know if you guys can see all this, but I would direct your attention to page 4 of the drawings, as well as the initial north elevation, and that shows where we gathered those pieces of history from your area. And I would also want to cite that your neighbor, at least Lisa, correct me if I'm wrong, Dedham, we just did the same type thing, and we came up with a similar solution. And it looks to me like your downtown districts are very similar. Your historic districts, you share the same values. And so that's what I got. I'm ready for any questions.
Okay, thanks. Just a couple of technical things. I'll let the committee weigh in. Are these applied on the interior or the exterior?
You have your choice. Traditionally, they would go on the exterior, but can be installed on the interior.
Okay, and I will remind the board that and as they can see, what's existing is just the back wall of either a photo room and part of the area of the checkout counter that they've blocked so that people don't see that. So they're replacing a plain white panel with these images. All right, so I will start with the committee. Steve, do you have any comments,
Yes,
questions?
I do actually. Just FYI, I'm a Boston boy. I love Boston, grew up there, but I also have Needham pride. And this is Needham, not Boston. And the images, by the way, I like the concept. I think it's good. And I think it will help the area. However, knowing that there are images in Getty or Shutterstock and so forth, having been a graphic artist, why do we have pictures of Boston and not Needham?
So
I would
Steve,
like to see Needham.
I totally get the question. We asked the question at the onset of this. We even researched with some of your public departments to try to gather images from the city of Needham. Ben, can you tell us how many, we went through like 3 or 4 different departments. Can you update Steve on our efforts? Because we'd love to put Needham graphics up there.
Look, excuse me to jump in, but I actually went on Getty and Shutterstock, and there are stock photos of Needham, where the same place you got yours.
Okay,
I'm
well,
sorry.
understand our research was limited to questioning the actual sources in your city. And Ben can tell us what sources we checked with as opposed to shuffling through, so this is what we came up with. But we're happy to oblige in that situation accordingly, Steve. It's a good point, and we tried to do it.
So
Ben, who did we try to get this from?
Ben, who did you talk to?
I haven't talked to anybody for Needham. That was for the Needham project. We did check with many review historical boards because the images have to be pretty high resolution to be put on a graphic like that.
Yep.
But I have not done any individual searching for Needham historic images.
Sorry about that, Ben. I got him confused. So Steve or Mark, if you can direct us to the quality images that we need, we're happy to oblige.
Okay, well, let's hear the other committee question.
Thank you.
Millie?
I have 2 questions. So again, like I know you were looking for high-res images and stock photos, but could you help me understand, what was the thought process like behind choosing these pictures? So I see 2 pictures of architecture, right? South Station and then the Rose Wharf, and then we have the gate of Boston Public Garden. So what was that thought about, like not choosing all 3 architectural elements, like buildings, and adding a gate?
So that's a subjective question that the designers, we don't have any role in that. And and so the goal was to try to present to your team at this juncture that we have a willingness to put up something different than what we want to put up. We want to be a part of the community of that district, and that's our effort to do that. So there was no rhyme or reason, Millie, per se. It was subjective to probably a good high resolution graphic and somebody who's got 50 of these stores to look at and says, okay, I got to come up with something from Getty or wherever, right? Does that make sense?
Okay, yeah,
and
yeah.
We'll let the committee like yourself kind of guide us and steer us.
Okay.
And you had a second question?
Yeah, my second question was that, the size of the 3rd graphic, that's a little bit smaller. I think I saw that in a minute. Okay, so if you go to page 5,
Well, Lisa, can you let me share? I'm sorry, Millie, 1 sec.
Yeah, no worries.
I can share too if you prefer.
Well, that's,
Okay.
if I do it, then I can control it. Thanks. Okay. No. It's not letting me. If you want to just put that up and show the page Millie's talking about.
Are you talking about that smaller sign that's behind the tree, Millie?
No, the one behind
the low one
at the counter. Yeah, the little one.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So you have like, you know, the image with the window mullions on the top, and then in the bottom you show the dimension for that, right? So the image shown in the dimensioned piece and the window is like different, like the height seems different. So I just want to make sure. I think it's page 5.
Yeah, you're actually, I think you're talking about page 3, section A. The back wall white vinyl in the lower
This
right-hand
one?
corner.
Not that one. If you go to the next, yep, that one.
So this image,
Yeah, so that image
it's just,
and
yeah,
you
it's
know
just a
the
partial archway.
yeah. Just want to clarify like the thought there. And if you kind of zoom out a little bit, we'll see, you know, the dimensions, the actual dimensions like shown, like the image shown.
So you're saying in the bottom right-hand corner, that 48-inch?
Yeah, like
Yep.
the image.
You're
is
absolutely right. That
different.
looks like it's more like about 24 inches because
Yeah.
that door is about 7 foot tall. That window is probably about 4 foot tall overall. So that's an image error in our drawing. I'm sorry, a measurement error in our drawing. The
Okay.
actual space does reference about 50% of that overall window, which is a clear view for that customer service area. And that provides for some other code issues that probably building would be a little bit more concerned with for public safety reasons.
Yeah.
That was the rationale behind it. So it is a data entry error.
Okay. Sorry. So the one shown above is the correct dimension?
Yeah, the one shown above
Okay.
is the rendering, the image on top of the
I
JPEG
see.
file. Yeah.
I see.
Yep.
Yeah, so if that's the case, then in this one, like I would say that it'll be, you know, if you do decide to use this image, right, like it's hard to determine really like that it's Rose Wharf, because like you're like really only capturing a piece of that. So, you know, again, like if we do go with the Boston images, like, you know, I would maybe suggest like looking into like either kind of zooming that out a little bit, or moving up and down and testing, you know, what's really going to be, you know, get it clear that that is Rose Wharf, or, you know, choose a different image.
Totally understand. And my guess is we're going to end this hearing and it's going to be, we're going to come up with some different graphics to put in there, and we'll incorporate that concept into the concern, how we've got whatever 25 inches there, and let's
Yeah.
capture something so people aren't, I mean, it's still neat, but it's a subjective issue, and I understand and respect that. Thank you, Millie.
Thank you.
Okay, Felix?
Thank you. So I would mirror what Steve said. That was going to be my first question, was why Boston, not Needham? Because I agree, both Getty and Shutterstock should have some high quality ones.
Well, we'll be able to direct them to some other sources if that's the way the committee wants to go. So
the other question I had is, are these films solid films, or are they the kinds that have like the little micro holes in them so that people can see through them from the inside, but people can't see inside from the outside?
That is a very good question, and I've installed both. I know that I would have to get back to you. I honestly don't know that, and that's never. If you ask me about the normal CBS graphics, I would say it was solid film. I can't say that for this. It could have those little, you know, a million holes per whatever, you know, like 12 holes per inch, it seems like on that other type of graphic. I don't know. Is that a criteria for, or is that just a curiosity, Felix?
It's a curiosity, but you've also mentioned public safety a few times, and also thinking from since you've mentioned building codes, the energy perspective and how much solar heat gain it's going to be, which you don't really have to worry about necessarily because it's an existing building. But since you keep mentioning code, I figured I would ask this as well.
Okay. All right. Well, we can find that out, how they make, when they do the custom prints like this, how they do them, and have that prepared for our follow-up, if that's okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Felix.
Susan?
Susan, you're muted.
Sorry about that.
Hi, Susan, I can hear you.
Thank you. Same as everyone else, why Boston and not Needham, and just so I'm not completely repeating what everyone says, I feel like all of these buildings are, you can almost take the exact photos of exactly the same kind of architecture in Needham. We have a beautiful town dome. We have a lovely interior town building, and we have a lovely gate, I think, at the park. So
And we have the new Grover building that they just finished.
yeah, that was one idea, like Needham architectures. I think you could get just as beautiful photographs. I don't know if they're stock. And then one other idea, just as an idea, not, I don't know how meaningful it is, but I know they're trying to get more mural art in Needham, and that might be a cool, if you went through the cultural committee, they'd probably love to put a mural on your window. So those are my thoughts. Nothing additional.
Okay, well, I do think it's a nice idea. There's some improvement over the plain, as we look at here, these plain white panels. I think it enlivens the walkway and as you mentioned, faces the common. But as you can see, it's pretty much unanimous that we'd like to see Needham images. I would suggest 3 sources at this point. The town manager's office to see if they can direct you to someone. That we do have a small local museum. I happen to be on the board of directors, so it's the Needham History Center and Museum. And the executive director there, we have in the past given some of the images that we had, that group has to, I think for a while Trader Joe's had images that they used. So that might be a source. And as Susan mentioned, the Needham, Steve, you're gonna have to tell me what the proper name is now, the Needham Cultural Council?
There's a mutual-
Arts and Culture Council.
The Arts and Culture Council, and see if they have, whether you want to use an art piece, because they've made some of these similar murals in the past. But yeah, other than that, I think it's a great idea, and so I would love it. I think we're pretty, there's a consensus around trying to find some neat images that work for you. We understand the issue of blowing things up and not blowing things up. So, but with that limitation in mind, we'd like to, I think, it basically continue this hearing so that you have a chance to do that. Knowing that I think the concept is sound, but we just, and I, for one, am not going to be all that particular about the image that you use and whether it's sort of partial like the arch. I understand it's really kind of a graphic, not really a picture all that necessarily. So, but I'll leave you free to use your judgment as you do that.
Fantastic.
So the board, does the board have any issues with continuing them to our next meeting?
No?
No,
Okay, so we will continue this review to our next meeting is December 16th.
What's our deadline for paperwork?
The week before.
The Monday before.
You're already in process, so really what, you know, Elisa can tell you when she needs the images in order to get them posted publicly and get the meeting noticed.
Okay, can I ask you a couple quick questions?
Yes.
Overall, we're not concerned with the size and the layout. So when we come back in, we're gonna fill those same spaces in with graphics that represent your community better. Is that's my number one takeaway. Our size request is gonna be okay. It's now fine tuning the artwork, correct?
Would the committee, anybody disagree with that on the committee? I don't. But
I agree.
Okay,
I agree as well, but I just,
I agree.
Susan?
I guess Paul brought up an interesting issue at the very beginning. Just maybe open up for discussion for just a minute is if we allow this on this building, what happens when other people start? Is it just about if we like the graphics or the size or?
Well, I
Are we
guess,
making a big exception here as, because I see this as an art piece,
yeah.
not a sign really.
Well, the tenants in this building, their need is to block those windows. They don't
That's-
want it, they don't using those windows. They could brick them in if they wanted to. They could fill them with spandrel panels. They could do what they've done, which is the white shelving on the interior. So if that happens at another business, and I think we've seen that, I think, remember Middlesex Bank had a sort of scrim along the bottom row of their windows into the teller area. I'm content to deal with that as it comes up.
Okay, that's all.
I don't know if the rest of you are concerned, but yeah, it's a precedent in that they want to infill this window with something that isn't clear. And are we willing to accept this approach? I'm speaking for myself, I am. But the rest of you have to make sure you're comfortable. We may see it again.
I'm comfortable
I'm
myself.
fine with it.
Yeah, I think this is better than the clear windows sometimes or than looking at the back of shelving, so I am too.
Yeah, I agree, Felix. Okay,
Can
right,
I just
so-
make one more comment to Paul? Just Paul, when I was looking up Getty and Shutterstock, there's some really wonderful photos. We have a lot of natural beauty in town of our lake and some other areas. So I leave the choosing up to you, but you might want to look into maybe a non-building architectural image also in town.
Okay, well, Steve, if there's any way these little, I mean, you just said you're a graphic designer. If you could pop these over to,
I just went to Shutterstock and Getty. If
Yeah.
you look, if you go to their websites, you'll find them.
all right,
Just put in Needham. Just put in Needham. That's all I did.
Ben, you got that, Ben? All right. All right, so thanks again, you guys. I did want to clarify that point. And then let me ask you just one other question. Once we go through a second hearing, because we're continuing this one, is there, after this hearing or after that hearing, are we expecting any type of paperwork to come from your team that shows like an agenda, meeting notes, something of that nature? And then after that, can you guys tell us if we're subject to an actual building permit? And this you might not know, but are we subject to a building permit for this type of installation for any particular reason, or are we just getting approval from this board?
I would review it with the building inspector.
Double
but
check.
I'm not, this is a facade change. I don't think they're going to come out and supervise the installation, but
There's not a lot to inspect, yeah.
it
Okay.
is that they want a record that you came to us and get it on file for that building,
Okay.
so that there's a continuous record of the work that's done on the building that required any sort of permitting. So I don't think it's extensive from them, but there will be.
Mark, I think it would probably be from a zoning perspective, not even a building code perspective that
Maybe a
they would
zoning
do
code.
it. But
Yeah, exactly.
but you would need some sort of approval from them because of, I agree with Mark on that.
All right, cool. Thanks, guys. Ben, what did I miss? What did I screw up on? What do you have to add, sir?
I think you did great. The only thing I wanted to add was CVS did make it known to me that if we didn't get approval, basically the first go, they would be canceling this project for this year just because of the weather and it be getting harder to install, signage or graphics. But we will definitely send over your concerns and your recommendations and see how they want to go. But yeah, my last correspondence with CVS was that if we don't get approval, probably going to be holding us off for 2025.
So let's reframe that question. That's a good point, Ben. How long will this, so we're gonna do a continuance, but it sounds to me like we're not gonna come back for your next hearing. We're gonna come back to a hearing maybe in January after the holidays and I'll reopen this. Is that acceptable to everybody?
Well, it's up to you. I was gonna offer an idea to the committee. Do we want to designate one person? We've approved the concept. Do we want to designate one person to review the images that they send back? They can just go through Elisa. We could basically approve this with the conditions that they use Needham images. And that could be done when they find them next week. They could submit them for review. And we'll have all, so that we would approve it tonight with a condition, as we often do. And that would let them have a little more time to get it done sooner. Because I would just as soon see this done sooner rather than, April.
And that'd be wonderful if you guys could do that.
But I want the committees, does everybody want to see them? If you'd rather make sure we see them, then we'll let them come back the 16th, or they're at their discretion.
I personally would like to see the photos because I'm looking at some of the pictures and it's not just each picture, it's how they all sort of sit next to each other and scale and
Okay.
There's too many weird. I mean, obviously I trust the designer, but I personally would like to see them
Okay.
on screen.
All right. So we'll just continue as we discussed.
Yeah, a lot of people are gonna look at these. I love it.
Okay. So
All right, you guys got anything else? Ben, you good?
I think we're good.
Thank you guys so much.
All right. Thanks.
Thank you
Have
guys.
a blessed
great night.
holiday, everybody out there. We appreciate the input. We really do. Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you.
bye.
Thank you.
One second. Sorry. Okay. The next item on the agenda is 3652 Brook Road, applying for facade and exterior alterations. So I'll let Fred and Karen take it. Do you want to share the screen and go through it, or you want me to put it back up for
Yeah.
you?
Karen Jerniger and I'll be sharing, and I just sent a request to share my screen. Thank you so much for everybody being here tonight. Okay, you see my screen? Does everybody see it?
Yes.
Should be a site plan? Okay, thank you. I'll try and keep it short and quick after all that deliberation. So we're looking at 52 Brook Road. I'm not sure where the other one is coming into play, but 52 Brook Road is located at the northeast corner of Highland Avenue and Highway 128, up in this corner. It's in the mixed use overlay 128 zone and the mixed use overlay district. The building site plans, the overall intent of this project is to clean up the exterior with both the building envelope and the area around the building. SPS is a contracting company with a focus on exterior envelope reinstallations, mainly for condominiums. SPS has been based out of Newton, Needham, and Waltham for over 30 years and works throughout New England. 52 Brook Road offers an opportunity to have a central office space with a more residential building where the upgrades can show the company's abilities. The plan is to remove the wooden decks. I don't have my pen ready. Hold on. Let's see, hold on a second. Sorry. I'm not prepared. There it is. Okay. So there's wooden decks right here. We're going to remove those. There's a rooftop air conditioning unit and a air conditioning unit that we're going to remove. There's a small gable area and a flat roof that's covering a sprinkler room that we're gonna remove right there partially and rebuild. There's a ramp that's right here that we're planning to remove. Concrete steps right here that we're planning to remove. And a concrete loading dock over here that we're planning to remove. Once the demolition is completed, 2 large covered front porches are planned, and those are right here. Sorry, I'm Xing them out. I don't have a circle. I can't circle it, so. And then we have 2 smaller covered entries that we're planning. One here and one here. And then we're also planning solar panels, which are we don't have a plan right now, but we're intending these 2 elevations or rooftops and possibly more for solar panels. Exterior elevations, we will be utilizing a variety of complementary products typically used on projects that we work on to showcase the abilities. The combination of lap siding, shingles, board and batten will be used along with PVC trim and new windows. The foundation is to receive a stone look, and the porches will receive a low maintenance wrapped columns, low maintenance 42-inch high railings, low maintenance decking, and the roof will receive architectural asphalt shingles. The exterior doors will be repurposed. They will be painted and cleaned as needed. So those, that's basically the front elevation there that you're looking at. This right here is a telephone pole that's existing that we have to deal with. It's not part of any of the construction we're doing. This one is also the front elevation with showing the sides. And then this elevation page is showing the back elevations. So this is facing 128, the top one. And then, sorry, but I've got that backwards. The top one is showing facing Highland Avenue, or set back from Highland Avenue by 1 road. And then this would be south facing more towards 128. Moving on to these images, the top image is showing the existing conditions of the building from an aerial vantage point. Here you can see the existing loading dock, which is over here. The permanent storage container, which will definitely be removed. The ramp area, which continues all the way down here with its railings, is proposed to be removed. The rooftop air conditioning unit is shown here, and the gable roof here. The southeast corner is so overgrown it's not possible to take an existing picture of that side. This is a Google Earth picture showing the overgrowth and the very large tree that's very close to the building. And the intent of this elevation is to prune the tree and remove the overgrowth of weeds. The before and after elevations of the pictures and the renderings. So this is a comparison between the existing conditions and what's being proposed. In the top image, you can see the storage container right here and the rooftop unit up here. The small gable area, which is peeking out over here. And the overgrowth of just random vegetation all around the building. Below is the rendering showing the 2 new large front entries here and here. And on the left side, it shows one of the small front entries on the side that we're proposing. This is a close-up of this slide is showing a more detailed view of the front left elevation. The top image is what's there now, and the lower rendering is showing what's intended in a little more detail. The plan is to install new lap siding and new windows on the sides, and the new covered front porch will receive board and batten siding and a repurposed and cleaned entry door. Similar to the previous slide, this one is showing the front right elevation. The top images are showing what's there now, and the lower rendering is showing what is intended. And the plan is to install new lap siding and new windows on the sides with a new covered front porch to receive board and batten siding, new windows, and a repurposed and cleaned entry door. Going around the building, the southwest corner, this slide is showing the contrast between the existing and the updated rendered view. The plan is again to install new lap siding and new windows on the sides, and the existing gable end will receive board and batten siding and new windows and a new repurposed and clean front entry door. The second new covered entry is shown on the bottom right, and the solar panels are also reflected in this slide. So this is the new side entry, covered entry, and the solar panels are reflected there. Oops. The northeast corner is very similar. It's the top picture. They're showing the former loading dock area, and the renderings are showing a new covered entry. The plan is to install again new lap siding and new windows on the left side, and the existing gable end will receive board and batten siding and a repurposed, freshly painted door. This is just taking a look at all the buildings that are around the 52 Brook Road is the L-shaped building, and any of the buildings around, you can see all this, the signage and how what's going on in the neighborhood. I guess we can look at that more when you have commentary if you want to look at that more. I don't know what to say about it. It's just what's there. And the final page is just the materials in specification of what we're intending to be using. So I open up the floor to any questions, comments, concerns.
Mark, you're muted.
You muted Mark.
Yep. Sorry about that. So I'll just let you continue to screen share, and you can go back to any pages that the members might want to look at. Is that all right, Karen?
Yes, that's fine.
Okay. So yeah, that part of Needham is kind of an asphalt jungle to a degree. It's just paved edge to edge. And so it's new. When people try and work on it, we always appreciate the effort and as we try and improve that area. So I'll start with Felix.
Thank you. I like the concept. I like what's being proposed. My biggest question is it seems like every single one of those entries has at least one or two risers. And I'm thinking about handicapped accessibility into the building.
So very good question on this particular elevation. I just happened to end on it. We will have an accessible entry here. Whether or not that planter is there, I just put it there for looks, but we will have an accessible ramp, and it just needs to be altered slightly. It's basically at grade. We just need to make sure that it's 100% ADA, but we are a private company and we're not 100% required to have ADA accessibility, but we do want to provide it.
Yeah, if clients are going in, then you need ADA accessibility to at least the public areas. If you have clients coming in, you need accessibility into public areas. Okay.
Yeah, we don't. We've done a code review on it, and it's not required, but we are providing it in any event.
Okay. That's my one piece. The rest of it, I think, as the chairman said, you're improving on the asphalt jungle, and I think it's nice. It's going to give it a kind of residential character, and it's definitely going to make a lot of benefits over the existing.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Felix. Millie?
I echo what Felix just said, that, it's definitely a huge improvement than, what's there right now in terms of the architecture and the facade. That like scale is like really nice. So kind of again, to build up on what Felix said, like I'm gonna, I guess like, if you don't have an ADA entry, like in terms of parking, is there a requirement that you need to follow for the ADA spot? Because like typically if it's a public building or, if there's like people coming in and out, if you provide a parking lot, right, there's a certain percentage of the spaces that needs to be ADA accessible.
Correct. Correct. So we are required to provide exactly what's there and no less.
Mhm.
I have worked on some, figuring out where an accessible entry would be and how we would do it. We are not required because it's an existing building and we are private, to provide all of like the 100% ADA. So we're not required to do that. We are going to try to give, especially on this elevation that we're looking at right here, somehow giving a parking spot that has that unloading ability for somebody in a wheelchair out of a van. So it's definitely on our minds. It's how we achieve that is not 100% written yet.
Okay.
And we're not required to, but we do want to bring it up to the current codes.
I will say that the building department will ultimately evaluate that and make any enforcement issues. They are the enforcement agent for that issue.
Exactly.
That's great. So again, like that again might not be under purview of this then, but I will kind of point out that your parking spot number 9 and number 17 might have a little bit of a conflict. If a car is parked in number 9, like as it backs out.
Yes, yes, it's true.
So it might be a site plan kind of refining.
Yeah.
Have to do on your end.
So that's existing. That's existing also. So how it all flows
see.
together. Yeah, and we just straightened it out. So
Got
we
it.
haven't had it engineered yet, and
Yeah.
we're hoping to get more parking spots by taking out that ramp. And the
Yeah.
ramp isn't an ADA ramp; it's a loading and unloading ramp. It's not meant for ADA accessibility.
Yeah.
So it's all for loading and unloading.
Yeah.
So we're hoping to be able to gain that ADA, maybe unit 12, like parking spot 12 becomes the ADA because it's the closest to the accessible door. I don't know that we'll be able to get any parking in over here. So we're going to try the best we can. See what happens.
Okay, got it. And again, like as you mentioned, like the site plan might still be under development and being engineered, but I really like that you all are kind of proposing solar panels on your roof. It's a really good use of the roof space and get some clean energy. And as we were kind of like thinking of that, being environmentally friendly, and I'd also kind of recommend like looking a bit more into site plan and all of this as was mentioned earlier, it's like a big asphalt jungle essentially, right? Like how if there's anything you can like do to kind of like cut that down a little bit, and you're kind of like already thinking that by creating those planters along the facade, like removing the growth. And what you're showing like looks nice, but can some of that be I'll just like quickly annotate here. Some of these spaces here, can these be thought of maybe like a bit more green? I saw that like in the image you were showing a planter here with a tree and like smaller planters, but is there a way to kind of rethink that you can like get more planter here? And maybe, this triangle, unless like there's a very specific like turning radii that you have to meet, like can we like start to kind of break that like asphalt a bit more and get like a little bit of green?
Yep. I've played with it a little bit. It's just, it needs to be engineered, and I agree with you 100%. I would love to get more permeable surface in there. It's just what's feasible and what's not feasible. But yeah, it's definitely on our minds. And there is a big planter there that we're going to keep and maintain and put some nice plants in it. But the rest of it, it's going to come down to the engineering, I believe, and how everything moves around that space and what we can do. So yes, it's on my mind for sure.
Thank you.
Well, we're limited in that, this is not a site plan review, but if you had triggered any sort of review with the planning board or anything, that we would be, really, they would be requiring some landscaping, because if you look at the zoning bylaw, there is planting area required on every site, some percentage of every parking lot. So we're using sort of the bully pulpit here to say, we think that would be good, and we would urge you to do at least the places Millie did along the building, and also that internal corner that we can see there,
Yeah.
which is just a big blank at the right angle. Certainly some more planting in that area. And I realize that you're not showing the other buildings that are jammed up 6 feet away, but we recognize it's a tight neighborhood. But to the degree that more planting could be added, we think that would be a big positive. All right, so, and I will turn now to somebody who's going to really tell you what to do with planting. Susan?
Well, I realize this isn't a site plan review. This is a facade review. Correct? Is that?
Well, they're also reorienting the parking lot, and we're just going to make comments to the building inspector on, the idea that a couple spaces are a little tight. They're going to need to be careful, but they're certainly improving flow.
Just so you don't waste too much time on that. This is purely for looking at the building. Karen in her plans showed just cleaned up of existing parking. We are planning to redesign the parking area, including adding landscaping where we can,
Okay.
but that's for a separate discussion. We will do that. That's something we're going to do, but we haven't.
Okay.
The site engineer hasn't started their work yet.
Okay.
So when they do and the building inspector and their work, that'll be part of what they do.
Okay. In his review, he'll decide whether he wants our input or not then. So,
yeah.
Okay.
This is not intended to be a fully fleshed out site plan.
Okay.
Not even, it isn't even it isn't even started.
Okay.
How's that?
All right. So we can go a little easy. But if you have any.
So with that said, just one question, I guess, just out of curiosity, outside of the facade, which I think is lovely and a great improvement, is the little porch on the other side of the building.
This one?
Can you go back to the, yeah, I guess that's fine. There's no, I mean, the asphalt goes all the way to the building, and I don't see any parking over there now, and I'm wondering, first of all, I'm wondering, what is this building used for?
It's an office.
It's-
Okay.
Right now it's a multi-office kind of, there's a doggy daycare and other things.
Okay,
office
so
spaces
it's
in there, so-
like a rental offices?
Yeah,
And what is this? Is this back door like just a fire exit or?
basically, yes, it's the bathroom corridor. And instead of having a dead end corridor, there's an exit and it's just breaking up the facade.
And is there any parking back there?
No. No, we don't have enough space.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't really, this doesn't show the next building, but see
You
if I
can see
zoom in.
there in the blow up, Susan, how close that is to that building next to it.
Right here. So the exit would be right around here
Oh,
somewhere.
so there's parking
then-
in the other building over there. So-
Yeah, I don't know if that's a hair salon or something here, but yeah, it's they had a spot that was designated for this building right in here
Uh-huh.
somewhere. So we're gonna take a look and see if we can get some parking going out this way. This is really just to give egress from the inside and and break up the overall facade just a little bit.
Okay. Well, I'll keep my mouth shut about all the ideas I have for the back of the building.
Oh, no.
And just say that I think the improvements are much better, and I hope this does come through again, because I'd love to see what does happen on the exterior. But I don't have any comments above and beyond anyone else's about the facade or the entrances.
Okay, thanks, Susan. Well, I agree with everyone. I think the mix of materials, for the reasons you talk about, wanting to illustrate what the company can do, I think it's done in a nice way. The consistency of the color helps unify it. I did notice that there are some of the existing windows get closed in. There's some new windows, but overall, I think the pattern is functionally equivalent to what's there, and the porches and the gable roofs add some dimension to the building that doesn't exist now. So I think you've done a nice job and it looks good. Again, I did have just a couple questions. You mentioned low maintenance railings. What does that mean exactly? Is that vinyl? Is that a metal rail?
It's basically an AZEK
Okay.
product,
Okay.
if you're familiar with AZEK. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I hope that once you put the landscape plan together, it may be just a straightforward approval from the building department, but we'd love to see it too, and to see. I think you can be a Kickstarter for this area and start to get these kinds of renovations to do more than simply relay out the asphalt, because it's a tough area for that, and
There is, yeah.
but history has really let it all happen. So nobody's going to solve it in one fell swoop, but if we can incrementally start to get things moving in a better direction, we would. That's one of our goals. So, there are no other questions? Right, I would take a motion to approve. And looking for the address again, sorry. 3660 Brook Road, facade changes and exterior alterations.
I'd like to make the motion.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, we come to the vote. Steve,
Yes.
Susan,
Yes.
Millie,
Yes.
Felix,
Yes.
and I am yes as well. So thank you. As I said, we will get noted drawings back to you from Lisa will email you back after I get a chance to stamp them and make notes.
Okay, wonderful.
Right.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you for
thanks.
everybody for your time tonight.
Yeah, and thank you. And just to reiterate, our intent is to make this a fully ADA accessible building, including inside, but also access on the outside. And to also be clear, it isn't required. The architect and the building inspector are clear that it isn't required because it's not a public access building, but we're still planning to do that. And similar with the site plan, we agree with you. We'd love to have more green space. That's what we're about. And we'll do what we can, also keeping in mind that we are also required to maintain the parking at least as many spaces as there are now, and we're going to need to combine those two needs, but we'll do what we can.
Well, we appreciate that. Thank you. All
Sure.
right, good
Thank
luck.
you. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
The next item is the minutes from October 7th. Any questions or comments? Everybody was there except Millie.
Looked good to me.
Okay. I would take a motion to approve the minutes of October 7th, 2024.
I'd like to make the motion.
I'll move the motion.
Okay, and we come to the vote. Steve,
Yes.
Susan,
Yes.
Millie,
Yes.
Felix.
Yes, but I'd like to make a point of order. I think since Millie wasn't there,
Yeah,
I
I
think
shouldn't
we
have
have
asked
to
for Millie.
abstain.
Millie's gonna abstain. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have called your name.
Sorry about that.
Oh, that's my fault. Thanks, Felix. And the chair approves. All right, anything else? All right, I would take a motion to adjourn.
I'd like to make the motion to adjourn.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, we come to the vote. Steve,
Yes.
Susan,
Yes.
Millie,
Yes.
Felix.
Yes.
All right, and the chair approves. All right, so we're adjourned.
And
Sweet.
You.